Today we're going to create a mixed media journal page using supplies we haven't used in a long time. Welcome, this is Barbara from Vienna, Austria, and this is your channel for vintage inspired art. So on my prompt list, which you can find linked in the description box below, we're going to be tackling prompt number 5, which reads, create a page using art or craft supplies you haven't used in a long time or forgot about. So I'm going to circle it, if this pencil is gonna work, so that I know I've done that one. And for this prompt, I am taking inspiration from one of my old journals. This is a very, very loved journal from 2016. This was the phase where I was into art journaling. And I have a few pages in here where I'd like to kind of recreate the style that I had used, which is something like this. So I used to do a lot of spreads. These were all very much inspired by Marta from Moremi Small Art. She was a huge influence on me at that time. And looking back at these spreads, I still love them today as much as I did 4 years ago. And what I love about these is all the different layers and textures. There's texture paste here, there's papers underneath, there is stenciling, and there's just so much going on here. So it's tactile. I think it's visually pleasing. I like the color schemes. And there's always a sentiment, I think, on all of these pages. So I really love this style, and I want to try to see if I can still do this style. I have here some more. So also really love this one. Again, stenciling in the background. This is more calm if you compare it, but I really, really love this. Here's another one. Again, a lot of different textures in the background, lots of layering. Then they all have butterflies, I'm actually realizing now. This one is very, very textured. I love the fact that it has, like, I don't know if you can see that well, these kind of perforated, like these pages with the holes here. I've got them all over, and some stenciling. Love it. Then I have this one. This one has like some crumpled tape in the background, as well as like this grid tape. Really loving that. Also like the grungy green and blue turquoise colors. This one is definitely one of my favorite because of the color scheme. Like, I love this orange pop here. I love the string in the background. I don't know how well you can see that. Lots of layering as well. Then there's this one. So you can see I really enjoyed doing these. Again, loads and loads of layering here. And I wish you could feel these. They feel really, really cool. And then we have this one, a bit of a different color scheme. Again, this has a lot of crumpled up tape in the background. Lots of stenciling going on. And this one actually I don't like. I don't even think I liked it when I finished it at the time. I decided to put sparkles all over it. You probably can't see that, but the whole page is sparkly. Yeah, not my thing anymore. But again, I have these cool torn, like these punched paper strips, which I really love, and also the grid tape. So I do love that. Yeah, so I actually never finished this journal. I mean, I was writing in it for a while, I think about until half. Yeah, till about here. I was writing in it, and then I was just kind of doing artsy things in it, like these. This is very much influenced by Tamara Laporte. Maybe you know her style. Yeah, so, I mean, I really adored this journal, and It's really a shame I never finished it. Like there's a lot of blank pages in here. This is again very much influenced by Tamara Laporte. But anyway, that's not what this is about. Oh, I actually do like the sun. I did this in 2018. I actually do like that one. So the point of me showing you this is that I wanted to use some media that I haven't used in a really, really long time. What I used in, I think, pretty much all of these spreads are these golden high flow acrylics. They are small bottles, and as the name says, they are very, very fluid, but they are very pigmented. So they're like very thin acrylic paints. And they are great for doing these kind of backgrounds because you can really move them well by just tipping them or something. So obviously, if you want to do something similar and you don't have these, then you can do the same thing with watercolors. I do the same thing with watercolors these days if I do these kind of mixed medias, but it's a shame to not use these. They were not cheap. I started buying these at my local art store, and I always bought one and then maybe a few weeks later another one, and because I couldn't afford to buy all of these at once. So I kind of built up my collection over time, and then I guess I stopped. So I don't want to waste these. A lot of these, thankfully, are fairly empty, so I did use them. Yeah, so let's see if I can still work with these. I haven't touched them in years, so let's see how this goes. Should be fun. I'm going to be creating my mixed media page in this journal, which I have hardly worked in at all. This is another journal from my friend Allison in the US, who also made the beautiful door journal that you might have seen in other videos. I absolutely adore this journal. It's kind of like an office style journal, like, yeah, I don't know, that's just what I would call it. And I think pretty much the only page I've done, which isn't even a real page, it's just some calligraphy I was practicing, which says create more. So let's create more. And I think I'm going to use this page for this spread. I will link Allison's Instagram again for you in the description box in case you want to contact her to also get a beautiful journal like this, or like my door journal. So we're going to start off by gluing down some background elements to kind of get some texture going first. I'm going to start off with some vintage text papers, and I'm going to try to not overthink things. So I'm just going to start tearing and placing things pretty much randomly. I don't know how much of this we're going to still see later. Could be that we hardly see any of it. Could be that we see some bits peeking through here and there. This is also kind of a way to break a blank page as well, if you have like the fear of breaking a blank page and the fear of starting on a page because you just don't know how to start. I had that fear a lot when I started. And by just putting things down on your page, I think it kind of helps to just start somehow. Next, I want to add some texture, and I'm going to start off by using these two tapes. So this is kind of like a carpet tape, and this is just a regular masking tape. And I'm going to try to tape it down, creating wrinkles. That's what we want. And again, I'm really just randomly placing this down. But I am trying to kind of spread them out a little bit. I don't want them all in the same place. All right, so there you see, it's very wrinkly. Looks horrible at the moment, I know. And then we have this mesh tape. Again, I'm really trying not to think about this a lot. I don't know yet what I'm using as focal image. I don't know what color scheme I'm going for. I just know that I want layers, I want texture. Something else that might be cool to add as texture are like these little dots, enamel dots, I guess, or plastic dots. We can add those somewhere. And I also recently got these are like the wooden numbers. These I got locally from Action. This is the Dutch chain that we have. So I think that would be fun to add some of those in the background as well. Of course, this will make it more bulky, but it's okay. I want to experiment. I want to have fun. Let's just go for it. What can go wrong, right? So when I'm adding these elements, what I'm thinking of is how cool it will hopefully look once we have these elements covered with some white gesso and then some color flowing around them. So I'm really looking forward to how that's gonna look. I'm very curious. And it's always a different result. It's always fun to see what comes out. For the wooden pieces, I'm gonna use my art glitter glue to glue those down. No rhyme or reason for which numbers I picked. I did try to put these down in a triangle. I actually kind of did that with almost everything, not even thinking about it, because we have the 3 tapes, we have the 3 grid tapes, and now we have the 3 numbers. The only one I didn't do it with is these round ones. Maybe I should get a 3rd one. A little small one. 3s are always good. Let's add one more here. All right, so this is what we have so far. How fun is this? So our next step is to add some white gesso. I'm using this one from Golden. I think I can link this for you below. Use any gesso you have. If you don't have gesso, you can use white acrylic paint or off-white paint or some kind of light color. I would use light color, otherwise the colors you add on top won't come out as nicely. So I'm just taking a paintbrush and I'm going to go over everything here. Maybe I'll leave some of the text peeking through, so I won't cover that completely with the gesso. But definitely the tape and all of my elements that I have glued down. And now we let that dry. All right, it's a little later, everything is nice and dry. And I've chosen these 3 colors to work with: sepia, teal, and yellow oxide. Let's see how this goes. I'm gonna be honest, I am quite nervous. I haven't done this in forever. I don't even know if these colors are still gonna be nice. I mean, I hear they are still fluid, but they could have gone bad. I've really literally had these for years. And I totally feel out of practice. So, let's just see how this goes. I really don't know. So what I am going to do is I'm going to try to drip these a little bit, but I will dilute them with a little bit of water as well, just like I would with watercolor. So I have some water here. I have my water brush, a flat water brush here. You can use any paintbrush. Let's try. I don't know why I'm nervous. This is funny. It's just because I am way out of my comfort zone. So I'm gonna start at the top here, and then I'm gonna start diluting this. And we're loving the drips. All right. And I do also have a kitchen towel on the bottom to catch any dripping. So I'm looking for this to get grungy, just in case you're wondering. Okay, I think that's enough of this color. Let me catch some of the drips here. So good so far, loving it at the moment. So next I will try the sepia. I'll use less of that because I think that's a pretty strong color. Yep. So I'm gonna be a little more gentle with this. Whoa, this is very dark. Definitely giving a grunge look. Whoa. See, I think this is so fun because you never know what's gonna happen. And yeah, it takes a bit of courage, which I think is so interesting. I mean, what can happen, right? It's a journal. You don't even have to do this in your journal. You can do it, just do it on one single piece of paper. What can go wrong? Like, it's not something that needs to go in a museum, but of course you want it to be nice at the end, right? You want to be proud of your results. So I do get it, that it does take courage, because it can go horribly wrong, especially when you're on camera and you haven't done it in years. So many things can go wrong. But no risk, no fun, right? Whoa, 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 that was a bit much. All right, let's dilute this. Now, of course, we need to be careful that this page doesn't turn into mud, because I do see a tendency for that. But I mean, it does look grungy, doesn't it? I think it's kind of awesome. Oh, and the turquoise has now turned into a green. Of course, because it mixed with the yellow. But that's cool, I like it. So, and now, I think I kind of want to do the similar thing from the bottom up. So I will turn this around. Try not to knock my water over. So let's add again the yellow oxide. You know what, I should change my water, because now I have a green water. I'm just gonna switch that into a clean water. Okay, have some fresh water here. So one thing to keep in mind if you're doing this with watercolors instead of acrylics is that the difference is, of course, once these dry, they are permanent. They won't move anymore if you add anything with water onto it, or any liquid for that matter. Whereas if you do it with watercolor, of course the watercolor is never permanent. So if you throw some more water-based medias on it, the watercolor will move, I guess. Unless I'm totally mistaken now, but I think that's the case. Okay, I'm just letting this run. Again, adding the sepia. Just gonna be very gentle with this now. We can also take some of the fluid off with our tissue if it's too much. And let's add some teal. Maybe I just let this run without adding any water. Let's see what this looks like now. Turn the right side around. Wow. So a little bit of a close-up of the grunginess. Wow. I think I'm gonna just let this dry for now and then think about my next step. In the meantime, everything has dried nicely and I want to get rid of these white parts, and I will try doing that by using my Distress Oxide in tea dye with my blending brush. I will link both of those for you. And let's see how that will look. I like it. Because we want to vintage this up a little bit. Yep, I do like that. I don't know how well you can see that on camera. And next I'd like to stencil. But of course, this is not a flat background, so, oops. I guess it wasn't completely dry. Okay, that's all right. Most of the places are dry. So I'd love to stencil with this great stencil from Tim Holtz. It is the one that says Lost and Found and Lucky and some numbers. I will try to link this. I think I only found this on eBay. Whatever link I have, I will share that with you. And I do think a little bit of copper gilding wax might work well with this collage. So I'm going to attempt to add a number. Let's try this. That's really hard next to this number. We'll see if we can make this work. And I'll link a similar gilding wax for you below as always. Also, in case you don't have one yet, you don't know what you're missing, I'm telling you. This stuff is magical. Yeah. How cool is that? Love that. Let's see what else we can add. We could also add the art. Let's give it a try up here. So once this dries, and it dries quickly, it is also permanent. There's the art. And of course we need a third one. What shall we put? Let's put the 375 down here. If you don't like your stencils getting messed up with the wax, then don't do this, please, because you'll never get this wax off again. I mean, it doesn't bother me. It's a tool, so I don't mind. But if you do mind, if you're particular with your stencils, then this is not a technique for you. So here's the 375. And I'm kind of thinking I also want to put the gilding wax over these little knobs that we have here, because I think that looks really cool. Oh wow. Yep. Oh wow. Okay, and then I will actually also put it over these wooden numbers. It really makes them stand out now. Wow. Look at these. So there's that. Then we have the 43. And then we have the 2. And maybe now it's about time to think about a focal point. I think that would be good. I found this metal butterfly, which I think might go pretty well here, as long as we also add some copper to it. So let's do that first, and then we can still decide where to put it. And I will add that with my glue gun, which is actually another piece of, well, it's a tool actually that I haven't used in forever, because what I don't like about the heat gun is I have 2 of them, a bigger one and a smaller one, but both of them, they always drip when they're like on standby and heated up, and I don't know if it's because they're not good quality or what it is, but it seems like it's wasting so much of the glue, so that's why I don't like using it. Okay, so now this is beautifully coppered up. And while we wait for that to set a moment before we decide where that goes, I also of course want to add a sentiment, and I want to use something from the Tim Holtz chip, what are they called? Quote chips, I think they're called. I will link these below for you as well. So let's see if there is something here that I would like. I mean, most of these are really, really cool. I love these. Collection lost. Oh, creativity takes courage. Well, isn't that fitting for this page? I think this has got to be it. It's a bit long. We could cut it up. Yeah, this is too long as it is. I don't like that. So what I will do is, it's also very thick. I mean, we do have thick elements here, but still I don't like this being small. All right, what I'll do is I'll first cut it. I'll just use my scissors, and then I'll decide if I want to take the backing off with a craft knife or not. Hopefully I won't completely ruin this now by trying to cut this with scissors. I'm sure it would be better with my craft knife, but I'm too lazy. All right, that even looks pretty straight. That's cool. Okay, this is easier to work with. Let's see how we can place that. Well, we have to think about where the butterfly goes to. Yeah, something like this. Of course, we need to vintage those up a little bit. So I'm again using my tea dye. Just gonna go over the whole thing. That's a bit better. I don't know how well you can see that. It does make a difference. I don't want it to be gray. And I think the edges need some wax as well. You knew this was coming, right? Very subtle, yet very effective. I thought the camera was turned on, but I guess it wasn't. So what I did was I added some copper on those raised parts of the collage as well. along the mesh tape as well. And now it kind of has this steampunk vibe, which wasn't planned, but I think it's fine. I'm happy with steampunk vibe. I know it's not everybody's thing, but I like it. I'm actually okay with the fact that these are raised so much. I mean, they are, yeah, they're pretty much the same as the numbers, so that's totally fine. So I will now take my glue gun and try to glue these down without burning myself. I'm so not in practice using that. Ooh, and it smells, wow. It smells like burnt plastic. Wow, this is so hot. I mean, obviously, but this thing is really dangerous. Ah, and the metal is getting really hot. I know now why I never used the glue gun. Wow. Okay, let me try to attach this before it dries. There's a lot going on here, I have the feeling. But I like it, I must say I like it. It's really nice and grungy, steampunky. And it was really fun to go back 4 years and try to do something I did then. So maybe if we compare a similar color scheme I used back then and what I did now. So this is kind of like the updated version of something like this, which I think is really cool, using techniques that I used a long time ago, but with the updates of what I enjoy using now, like the copper and the numbers and these quote chips and metal elements and things like that. So this was really fun for me to try. I hope you try something yourself. Maybe go back to your old journals if you have any, see if there's anything that inspires you that you haven't done in a really long time with materials you haven't used in a long time. See where it takes you. It's a journey worth taking for sure. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Please subscribe if you haven't, if you want to see more. And give it a like if you enjoyed this. Love you guys. Mwah, mwah.